Many years ago, my girlfriend, Maya, and I spent our spring break on a road trip to St. Louis, Missouri from New Mexico. We wanted to see the Gateway Arch and check out some other sites nearby. She also had grandparents that lived in the area, and they welcomed us to stay with them while we were there. This gave us a bit more wiggle room in our budget and helped us greatly. We planned on leaving super early to get a head start on traffic and taking turns driving and sleeping so that we could save more time and money on hotels, which did work out in our favor. Well, for the most part. Most of the drive went smoothly. We had printed out our drive and directions and even planned our stops. And yes, I said printed directions. This should tell you how long ago this was. We ate, made our planned stops with minimal detours or extra stopping, and slept all according to plan. What we didn't account for, though, were the Midwestern storms. We had stopped at a gas station in eastern Kansas to fuel up, and it had then started raining. No big deal. We had a fully functional car, so the wiper blades worked just fine. We got back on the road and continued on, knowing that we only had about 4, maybe 5 hours left of our drive. But it hadn't even been an hour later when the rain began pouring. I've lived in New Mexico all my life. Now, I'd seen some rainstorms and some pretty bad ones, but I had never experienced anything like this. So, yeah, I'm not afraid to say that I got a little nervous. Maya, however, wasn't as concerned and just offered to drive if I wasn't comfortable. Seeing her calm demeanor did help calm me down some, and I continued on. Unfortunately, the rain would not let up, and it became louder as it hit my car. That's when we realized it wasn't just rain, it was also now hail. I have never seen hail so big in my life, and still haven't since. It became so loud and heavy that I thought it was going to smash my windshield. I couldn't really hold back my fears, so Maya suggested that we pull over so that she could drive. This time, I agreed. We pulled into a gas station and I went in asking to use their phone. Maya didn't have a phone and I just had a prepaid one that I was trying to save the time on in case of emergencies. I called my parents and let them know where we were. I then explained how bad the weather was, and my mom sounded worried and suggested that we take shelter at a hotel until it passed. Of course, this didn't really help relieve any of my concerns, but I told them I would consider it and ended the call. I went back to Maya, and after sharing with her, she said that she would continue the drive, saying that we would probably be fine. I tried my best to remain calm and just trust her judgment. We continued to drive, but it seemed like we were honestly going further into the storm. The rain and hail continued, and the wind was so strong. I thought it might even blow us off the road. And speaking of the road, I could barely see the lines on it, let alone a few feet in front of us. We were on a pretty empty stretch of road with no exits nearby, but I looked over at Maya to ask if we should maybe just pull over and wait it out. And her face told me all that I needed to know. She no longer looked so confident. I pleaded with her to pull over, and she agreed. We were now on the shoulder and parked, and we sat there in the dark and silence just trying to decide the best thing to do. I grabbed my phone from her purse to at least call her grandparents, or my parents, with an update, and of course I didn't have any signal. It was a bit disconcerting to see, but I told myself that we were parked, so we should be okay. We tried keeping each other calm by just talking and occupying ourselves, which did start to work. We probably sat there for about 45 minutes when we noticed that the hail had stopped. It was still raining pretty hard, but since the hail cleared up, we could see the road a bit better and decided to give it another go. But as it goes, there's always something. Now, the car wasn't moving. It started just fine, but it appeared to be stuck. We got out and checked, and sure enough, the tires on the passenger side had sunk into the mud. This road didn't have any sort of barriers on the side, so it just went from road to grass and dirt. I tried pushing it while Maya steered, but it was not budging. Then, when we finally got some movement, it began sliding more into the shoulder, almost like it was fishtailing. Sorry, I'm not good with cars at all, and I'm not sure how to better describe it. At this point, there was no way we were going to be able to get the car out alone. We got back in the car, now soaked, and grabbed our beach towels from our bags. Cue the worried feeling again. Now we were definitely stuck in this storm, in seemingly the middle of nowhere, late at night, and we had no real options. I still didn't have a signal on my phone, and neither of us had any other ideas. I just really hoped that we weren't going to start hearing the tornado sirens. We just grabbed some snacks from our food bag and tried to wait it out and hoped for the best. Honestly, this whole thing took a lot out of us. Not to mention the whole drive prior, so we both started getting pretty drowsy. As we were laying back, trying to relax and just stay calm, we saw lights coming from the opposite direction towards us. To our surprise, they actually slowed down, stopping next to us, and they rolled down their window. It was an older man in a pickup, and he said probably the best thing I had heard that night. "Y'all need some help?" We probably should have been a little hesitant at first, for the reasons mentioned above. Middle of nowhere, stranger, dark road, etc., but we were so desperate that we decided to take the risk. The man got out of his truck, put some kind of board between my back bumper and his front, and pushed my car while Maya steered it. It came out like it was nothing, and the man's truck plowed right through the mud, too. By the end of it, we were all completely exhausted, soaked and freezing, but finally, with the man's help, we managed to get our car back on the road. He even followed us to the next exit, which had a McDonald's, to make sure that we made it out okay. We were incredibly grateful to that man. He could have kept on driving, he could have been a creep, and we would have had nowhere to go. But instead, he stopped, and he helped two dumb girls stuck in a ditch. We tried to pay him as a thank you, but he refused and said that he was just happy to help. We went in and used their phone to call my parents and her grandparents to give them an update, and then decided to sleep in our car in the parking lot for a few hours, hoping that by the time it was lighter out, the rain would have dissipated. Thankfully, it did, and we made it to her grandparents' place with no other issues. Overall, it ended up being a great trip, but I told Maya that I would never again drive anywhere with her in the rain. Only partially joking, but it was also nice to see that there are still good people out there that are willing to lend a hand.